Good morning, good evening, everyone. This is Ludico Pekina with GAI Insights. Welcome to Daily AI News Review, where we mark articles as essential, important, and optional, helping you navigate through the avalanche of AI news every day. You can follow along. The articles are listed on our website, gaiinsights.com/articles. And please like us in all the platforms that we have and comment as we proceed. John, could you please mute? There's a background noise coming from your mic. Thank you. Okay, let's start with the first one, Adam. Ankash.
Sure, Luda. So the first one that we have for today comes from Moonshot AI, and it talks about Kimi K2, Open Agentic Intelligence.
Yeah. The founder of Kimi or the founder of Moonshot is actually educated in Carnegie Mellon, and his English name is Kimi. And before he founded Moonshot, he was at Google and Meta, and very well known in China as a researcher with many articles and scientific publications. So it's a notable development here. Adam, what did you think?
So I was between important and essential on this. It's definitely something I think people are going to want to be aware about and pay attention to. So potentially essential, but certainly worth catching up on towards the end of the week and make sure it's something you're across. So Kimi K2 it's an open source model, which is a pretty big deal given how strong the performance of it is. And it's 1 trillion total parameters. So you think of like a GPT-4, it's like 400 something billion. So this is more than double the size, but it's massive. But then it's a mixture of experts model. So at any time, it will activate up to 32 billion parameters, which is much more reasonable size in terms of something that people can work with. And when you're activating the vision language model, it can actually get down to much smaller than that. So although it's tremendously large, tremendously powerful for an open source model, it can also be quite performant and only use very selectively the parts of those trillion parameters that are necessary for the task at hand, which makes it really powerful and a big step forward. There's the base model, which they're providing as a foundation that people can then do that post-training reinforcement learning and fine-tune and really shape it into an open source model that they want to purpose built. And then they've also have the K2 Instruct, which is the model that they've done reinforcement learning on and fine tune, and that's achieving all these benchmarks and being as performant as it is. The couple of big deals here are really that it's agentic and it's really competitive at coding. So Ankash, you can see there it's trailing just behind Opus 4 from Claude, really as the leader in a lot of those benchmarks right now. And if we go down to that, to the examples just below there, you can see like a use case of it's performing an agentic system. Go to that third example. And basically the task at hand that it was being asked to do was to attend Coldplay's 2025 tour, depart from London, find suitable concerts, confirm calendar availability, manage all of the tickets and find hotels and come up with a budget for the whole thing. And then it went off and it used tools and it went through quite an extensive series of tasks to execute on all of this, and then came back with, go back to the top, Ankash, and then show the result there, where at the top it says result. We'll bring to like the result page for the world tour, and it gives an overview of the schedule, the complete itinerary, the budget, the pricing, everything. So it's like a deep research tool, but it's completely open source and performing at a level from open source that we just haven't seen before. So it's a pretty big piece of news today.
Yeah, very powerful tool. And you can tighten it or adjust it because it's open source. Okay, what did you think about this, John?
Yeah, I was on the border between important and essential as well. I think I might go essential. I was trying to find Adam, the data, the training data also available?
No, it's just
No.
open weights.
So yeah, it's open weights. Yeah, that's what I thought. So when you say completely open source, I always think of completely open source as training data as well. But yeah, look, I think we're seeing in the marketplace a bunch of companies, taking these models and building on top of them, and companies and so forth. So I might say essential.
Vivek, what do you think?
I'm also essential but I found some other interesting insights for me. It was that you talk in the article, they talk about how they leverage the same architecture as DeepSeek, and these labs within China are kind of working and collaborating together, which is not what we are seeing in the US, especially between OpenAI and the Metas and the Anthropics. So I think that's causing them to kind of accelerate in their development of these really, really sophisticated foundation models that are kind of now outpacing and outperforming on several metrics, US models. So that's something I think just to be keep an eye on, and I think from a leader perspective to understand what the current capabilities are and how the innovation is moving towards. So for all those reasons, everything that John and Adam mentioned, I think it's an essential read. It's a DeepSeek type moment for agentic models. So.
Yeah, so Kevin is asking whether they're as competitors in that sense, in the size and what they can offer. What do you think, Adam?
Well, I mean, you can just see in the benchmarks there what it's being compared to in terms of the other agentic systems. So it was like Claude Opus 4, DeepSeek, I guess, what is it, the R3 or the V3 model, which is, the DeepSeek V3, Qwen 3, and then GPT 4.1 from OpenAI. So these are all, I guess, what are considered the top non-reasoning models, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah, but I think Kevin,
in terms of capability, in terms of the amount of a number of parameters and the capability, I think this is higher than what we've seen so far.
Yeah, when Kevin's question, I think is, have we seen people so explicitly use large and small models together? And I don't know of any, Kevin, that are explicitly under one query, but all the big models have smaller models in them. So I think that de facto they are doing a similar thing. They're just not doing it with as much transparency, is my understanding.
Okay, Paul, we're going essential here.
Sounds good. A lot of chatter on this on the internet.
This is quite impressive. Okay, essential it is. Let's proceed, Ankash.
Okay, the next one comes from Cartesia, and they talk about hierarchical modeling, and it's about chunking the tokens.
Yeah. So this is another algorithmic improvement that is talking about rearranging the tokens in a meta way to save space and time and use the long context windows better. What did you think about this, John?
Yeah, I was going to give this an important. I thought about giving it an essential, but it's early days for this. But this notion of hierarchical, and it's also byte-based, and because it's byte-based as opposed to token-based, it allows it to do a better job of, much better job of dealing with multimedia, right? Because there's not as much semantics implicit as it is at the token level. You know what I mean? And so, and I thought that their whole approach to creation of more condensation, more compression, and semantic abstraction and a hierarchy makes a lot of sense. I mean, most semantic systems we have a hierarchy in them. It's not always super strict, but if you go back to the early language models, semantic next and so forth, a lot of those started hierarchically. And some of the early work guys like Minsky, things like frames, those were more object oriented than hierarchical, but still semantically distilled, if you will. So, it's way more efficient, does a great job of multimodal. So I was going to give it an important.
Okay. Vivek, what did you think?
Yeah, I was almost at the same place where John was in terms of it. This is I think it's really important innovation. And I think we're seeing this, right? Grok in terms of post-training in algorithmic innovation. Here you're seeing pre-training with this kind of unique hierarchical modeling based on semantic chunks. And so I think what it highlights is we are still early in the game. There's a lot of innovation to be made in this, especially to improve efficiencies. Now that there's so much focus on these models, I think we're going to see more and more of these type of trends. But I think given that it's not really been implemented too widely, let's stay with important.
Yeah, you should also, Ankash, if you could go into the research paper that's, I can't remember if it's before or after this illustration, because it's on archive. Right there, hierarchical networks, HNets, and then punch through to the PDF. That, and they're doing a great job at CMU here, but no, the same thing is not widely implemented. This notion of having, what they call them, hybrid models or whatever. Of course, we're going to get to in these complex models. Of course, we're already getting there. A combination of traditional symbolic models and neural network models, and we're going to figure out, okay, how do you build one with the other, or vice versa, and what are the efficiencies? And yeah, I mean, anyway.
Okay. Great. Thanks, John. I'm thinking Adam is probably in my camp, optional, because I'm worried about the losing the context actually in abstracting it, and it's really early. Adam, what did you think?
Yeah, super interesting research and super optional in my opinion. If I were an executive and this came across our email as an important piece of news and I started to check it out, I'd be like, what am I even supposed to do with this? Like, why are they talking about this to me? Like, there are probably people they should be talking to this about, but it's not me.
But my executive would say, I'm so glad these people aren't fluffy, not stuffy. They actually care about the core of the mathematics that are driving my economics.
I see. Okay.
I'd say it's important research. It's not important news. Yeah.
Okay, Paul, we have important and optional, two camps. What do you think?
I'm 100% with Adam. This is interesting R&D stuff. It's on the bench. It's a research paper. It's not even positive it can even work. This is theoretical land and how the carburetors can be better.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
It's going to save money in the long run, and
in
it's
the
going to
long
save
run,
a lot of money.
Yeah, if I still have my job because I couldn't get Gen AI adopted in my organization.
You guys are like U.S. Steel, and you didn't care about the mini mills.
Okay. Well, optional it is. Let's proceed.
Okay, the next one that we have comes from Elon Musk and talks about why XAI's Grok went rogue last week.
Yeah, a whole bunch of discussions on that. What did you think, Vivek?
Yeah, I think it was between important and essential. Given that this is going to be a back pocket article for every exec, when I go up and present that, what if it starts, especially when you're putting out public-facing Gen AI applications like chatbots as well as some FAQ. What if it ends up going rogue and starts spewing out hate speech or violent speech? So I think this is a great article in terms of just highlighting some of those risks associated with it, and given the name, I think I'm only giving it essential based on the name, that it is Elon Musk and Grok, and it's going to carry a lot of weight. But it is a masterclass and of understanding around AI alignment, safety, governance. All of these things are going to be very important. As an AI leader, you shouldn't sleep on those things. Yeah, even though they should already know this. This is a good article to support that. And again, I'm being in an inflated mood this morning, so
okay.
I gave this
slightly inflated rating from Vivek by his own admission. What did you think about this, Adam?
So the title of the article is Why XAI's Grok Went Rogue, and they spend almost no time actually answering that. I was really disappointed in this article. I wouldn't even give it an important probably. The important thing is that, of course, we need to be aware that someone within your organization affecting things like system prompts can absolutely affect the behavior of a model. There not a lot of details have been provided exactly what happened, whether there was an over adjustment or a rogue prompt. But it's in some ways like any other live software where you have to roll back a change that was either authorized and didn't work properly or was unauthorized. And but this doesn't really go into that at all. It seemed like it was more just sort of trying to feed off the hype of all the news around it right now.
So we had, when Grok came out, granted, it's a hugely impressive model with a lot of potential, but it had all these issues that have not been fixed really. And this is just an example of what happens when those issues are not addressed. The guardrails are not really in place. So for that reason, it's probably not the enterprise quality material yet. So we had this debate at that time, and I think we even rated the news as optional, which must have been a little tough. But what did you think about this, Paul?
I was more with Kevin on Essential. I agree with Adam. It's a very frustrating article. I think it is on everyone's list. It absolutely empowers all your skeptics in the organization. It absolutely empowers all the people who want to slow you down. So you, as an AI leader, you need to understand, what is. Certainly some of the emerging calls I've seen on at least the Twitter is talking about not enough training. We actually have seen this in some customer-facing B2B stuff. Was that one in Canada that give away a free car or airlines or something like that? So the AI leader needs to be aware of this and understand that, this is a good case that, guys, you have to test this stuff and you got to monitor it. And if it in fact really is a system prompt for a rogue engineer, that's even more troubling because that could easily have been fixed.
That's a good point, Paul. Okay, John, thinking Essential, what do you think?
Yeah, and by the way, that rogue engineer, his initials are EM. Anyway, I think the other thing to keep in mind is that the carelessness of this platform, along with a couple others, really means you have to think carefully about your brand, right? Because if it can start, giving out Nazi propaganda and looking for a second Holocaust, imagine what it could do to your brand as well.
Yeah, and John, and it's brand downside risk. United Airlines just needs one incident like this,
right?
To be in the public realm. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. If it's widely reported, it's perceived as truth.
Yeah. What Teddy Roosevelt, the lie makes its way around the world before the truth gets to put its pants on.
So Grok model needs to grow up before it's really usable. Okay, great. Essential it is, but nonetheless, leaders need to know about this and think about all the implications. Got it? Essential. Let's proceed. Ankash, please.
Okay, the next one comes from Nestle and IBM and talks about how Nestle has leveraged IBM's AI and deep tech expertise to unlock new packaging innovations.
Yes, very interesting. Packaging is an art almost based on a lot of science. And this is Nestle's trying to combine it all into databases and with Gen AI on top. What did you think about this, Adam?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a cool story, but probably an optional piece of news. It's basically a couple of years ago, IBM came out with a regression transformer, and it was a specific transformer model using transformer architecture for generation of molecular language modeling. So they, of course, the use case for it would be something like Nestle has done here. It doesn't go into a lot of detail of how they actually built the system or what it did, but effectively they used this IBM's regression transformer to now be able to find new materials that they can use for packaging. So it's cool, right? For food safety and quality, it's an important thing. It's a neat use case, but I don't think there's a lot to be learned or taken away from it other than, hey, if you want to do some sort of molecular modeling like this, IBM has something that you can use to build a solution.
Yeah, it's more of a product announcement. They haven't really used the system to create new materials yet, it sounds like. It's just a new capability they're experimenting with. Okay, so Adam, what is the rating? Optional. Okay, Vivek, what do you think?
Yeah, I was between optional and important. I would have been a solid important if they'd given the impact of these type of implementations. But I think it highlights a key point, right? That we're going beyond just text and image generations and efficiencies into more around product innovation, engineering, and other use cases. And I think that Nestle has done a great job at kind of incorporating this. And I would like to understand how they are kind of upskilling their workers to kind of think like this in every aspect of their process, because that seems pretty neat. But otherwise, yeah, I'm between an optional and important. I was leaning important.
Okay. John?
John, you muted.
John, are you muted?
Optional.
Optional. Okay. It sounds like we're going optional. Paul?
Optional.
Optional. Okay, optional it is. Let's proceed.
Okay, the next one comes from the Brookings Institution and talks about hybrid jobs, how AI is rewriting work in finance.
Yes, an interesting article that points to specific happenings, the layoffs and then rehirings in finance. What did you think about this, John?
Yeah, I was going to give this an optional. I didn't think this had, the summary stuff I thought was pretty obvious. Citing a bunch of different research. I don't think there's anything new here about, sometimes it assists, sometimes it automates, and finance, as we've been talking about for a couple of years now. Finance is a wins kind of industry. Words, images, numbers, and sounds. Highly digitized, going to be transformed. So I didn't think this was going to help our AI leader move. To use a hackneyed analogy, move the ball forward.
Okay, so optional from John. Adam? Agreed. Any disagreements, Vivek?
No, optional.
Optional. Okay, optional it is then. Let's proceed.
But by the way, this is an example of a task that's going to be automated. Like Eduardo here is going to be out of a job if this is what he's doing for a living. Because the robots could do a way better job on this than he did.
And I'll disagree with the fundamental premise in the very first sentence, which says AI is not destroying jobs in finance; it's rewriting them. It's going to do a lot.
Yeah. Having run marketing at PwC, that was inserted by the Risk and Quality Commission. We used to call the dullinator. We give them an interesting article and it come out dull.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We don't like this article very much, it sounds like. All right. Optional it is. Let's proceed, Ankash, to our last one.
Okay. Yes, Luda. So the last one is a case study from Anthropic and talks about how Grafana transforms observability workflows with Claude-powered multi-agent assistant.
Yes. Vivek, what did you think? Tell us about Grafana and what they're doing. Interesting.
Yeah, so Grafana, with the help of Anthropic, built this observability tool that allows the folks at the company to look at a variety of different outputs from a natural language perspective. So looking at infrastructure monitoring, developer tooling, cross-functional decision making, all of these things just with a simple language query. And this is a very common use case. If you're not already as an AI leader kind of thinking about these are not. It's under the guise of observability, but it's not really. It's just asking a database questions in natural language and getting answers and understanding. So it democratizes anyone even not with domain specific knowledge, able to ask questions to their data sets. And then they have this cool, interesting, a lot of the heavy lifting is done by their more advanced models, like the sonnets and the opus, while the summarization is done with the haiku model. So they have some kind of agentic multi-model orchestration going on. But overall, I gave this a optional because it's just another use case without much data on how it impacted the organization. So.
Yes, optional from Vivek. Adam?
Yeah, I'm right there where he was. Just we've seen, actually, before I even brought it up, when I saw the title of the article, I said, I bet this is going to be on the Anthropic website, and it's going to be like a lot of the ones recently that seem like pretty good use cases, but don't really provide enough detail to be valuable.
Yes, unfortunately, because this is a great use case for observability. So you can build the dashboard in minutes, right? And then monitor the various parameters. So it makes watching the software and the IT operations much, much simpler. So it's a pervasive case, but unfortunately doesn't have the architecture or the results that they've achieved. Paul, we're going optional. What did you think?
Yeah, maybe you guys, I was confused by the word observability. I've heard that used a lot more on understanding the model. I mean, this to me, Vivek, is just natural language query of structured database that we've seen every single BI tool doing, IBM doing it here. So I was confused
I
by
was
the
the same.
article. Yeah.
It was almost a bait and switch, because it's not observability in this normal sense of what we've been trying to define it recently. Is
Correct.
understanding the model's thought process, and
Yeah.
Claude has been doing a lot of that recently. So, but I thought that was good. I was excited to read.
Yeah, I mean, which is really unfortunate, because I think there's, I don't know what, hundreds of thousands of kind of data analysts that just do BI power tool work that's all going to be transformed, and half of them going away here, and it doesn't get to that at all. So that, and the reasons that Adam mentioned about, I think Anthropic's doing a great job on some of the research side, but these case studies are wildly underwhelming, particularly against their competitor AWS.
And with a title that's very confusing, putting the observability that's not.
Well, I guess the assumption's being made that people know who Grafana is, because they're the open source undisputed leader in observability in terms of telemetry and metrics and being able to troubleshoot things based on disparate data and how you get across it. Like in that true, pure sort of pre-LLM sense of observability, I think they probably wrote this from the thought that people, of course, know who Grafana is. I mean, Microsoft, JP Morgan Chase, lots of the biggest companies in the world use it, and they only make about 1% of their revenue from the usage, because it's all open source out there, just being used massively. I went and researched it because I didn't know what it was, but some other people I spoke to were like, "Oh my God, this is huge news! Like Grafana having Claude built into it is a really big deal." And I was like, I don't even know who Grafana is. So but apparently it's real observability. Yeah.
Observability, but not in the sense of observability
right in the LLM context,
model
right?
that we've been put to Paul's point. This is to be noted. We're going optional, John.
Yep.
Optional. Okay, guys, optional it is, and we can proceed to the scorecard. Any announcements, Paul, John?
Yeah, tonight for the Learning Lab, we have Chris Brock is on the case study of Lovable, which is a fantastic prototyping tool that's on fire. They've grown from rumored 7 million in revenue last year to 84. We know dozens and dozens of people who are really impressed with it. So join us tonight at 7 o'clock on Learning Lab. You can sign up via Meetup. And we have our great conference coming up as well, less than about 2 months away, GAIworld.com.
Thank you, Paul. And for today, we have 2 essentials, and the rest are optional. And the essentials are the new model from Moonshot, Kimi K2, and the problems that the Grok continues to have in not having good guardrails.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I say this? I'm sorry, one thing. Today, a little bit, and going forward, we're going to be profiling some of the folks who'll be coming to our event, just to give folks an idea. One of them is John Halamaka, Dr. John Halamaka. He's the president, COO of Mayo Clinic. Mayo Clinic's doing amazing work, doing a combination of using technology to help them do breakthrough research, knowledge, engineering, and knowledge spreading, as well as regulatory compliance. So, world-class institution at the very leading edge of research and the use of AI, will be at our event. And a huge area of interest for us is the whole healthcare sector. So anyway, that's just one. We will have others.
Thank you, John. Great. So that completes our session for today. Thank you all very much. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, Kevin and Valda, for participating and giving us comments. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Vivek, for joining. Always have great comments. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow.